Today we're talking about the things that we hate in other people. I know that sounds like terrible, but I promise that it serves a purpose. We're not just talking about the things that we hate just to dog on other people, okay? We're talking about it because we're going to try to flip it around on ourselves and see what our insecurities are, okay? Because the things that you hate in other people also reflects in some way the things that you do not like about yourself. The first and number one thing that's my biggest pet peeve is people who are routinely late. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, let me tell you, it annoys me so bad. Like, yeah, I understand that life happens and you're late every once in a while, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who, like, just show up late everywhere. It's like they're 20 minutes late to class, or they always are delaying our hangout times, you know? They just cannot for the life of them show up anywhere on time. I can't deal that. I can't deal with it because I'm like, do you not have any respect for people's time? It just like feels like that they don't care. I don't like that, especially selfishly, especially when it's like about me, you know? Like, okay, let me give an example. So I planned to hang out with this person, right? And we set the time, and then they texted me 15 minutes before we like the time, and they were like, hey, can we actually do it 30 minutes later? And I was like, sure, that's fine. And then so I show up at the new time, and I'm like 5 minutes early because I don't like being late, and they're not there yet. And then I sit around for a while, and like 20 minutes passes, and they are still not there. And I'm about to leave. I'm about to be like, okay, like I had other things I could have been doing today, but I took my time out to do this. And then finally they show up, like right as I'm trying to leave, and they show up on the phone with somebody else. So they're talking on the phone with somebody else while I'm there for like 10 more minutes. Then finally we get to do what we were planning on doing. It annoyed me so bad. But that's not the point. The point is we're trying to flip it around on ourselves. And this flipping on yourself thing is harder than it seems because it's not so obvious. Like, you have to think about it. Because just because I hate when people are routinely late doesn't mean that I also dislike myself because I am routinely late, okay? Because that doesn't even make any sense because I'm not a person who's routinely late. So I can't dislike that about myself because that's not even something that happens. Kind of taking a more reflective approach. I don't like when I don't show up on time for myself, okay? Let me explain that. I might tell myself that I'm going to do something at this time, and then if I don't do it, then it feels really gross. So for example, literally a couple days ago on Sunday, I had a plan to do a bunch of errands, and I did squat. I did absolutely zero of them. And that was an example of a promise that I made to myself to do these things because I needed to do them that I didn't keep for myself. And so that for me was not showing up on time for myself. Like, I did the things later, like a couple of days later, and now it's all good, but it still wasn't on time, and so I did not like that. So you see how we like flipped it around on myself, but it wasn't like necessarily so obvious? Okay. Now that we took forever on that first point, point number 2, people who say mean jokes or rude things in general and just play it off as their personality or being honest. Oh my goodness. People who like will say the most mean stuff. They'll be like, that person's ugly, and you're like, hey, that was kind of rude. They're like, I'm just being honest. Oh my god, it annoys me so bad. I'm like, there's a difference between being honest and just being rude. You know what I'm saying? It just bugs me. I'm not for it. It's like, you just think that you're better than everybody else and you can say all these rude things because you're an honest person when really you just think that you're better than them. That's just, I just hate it. So this one was kind of hard, but I was thinking about parts of my personality that I like maybe identify with or play off as my personality when maybe I shouldn't. I think the main thing is anxiety. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm just such an anxious person, and it kind of like becomes my personality a little bit. Like, I'll just be like the anxious guy that always needs to be in control. I would say I complain about it maybe more than I should, you know? Like, oh, I'm just so anxious about this. Oh my gosh, I have this and this and this. Like, I don't know why I'm so anxious all the time. When in reality, I think that anxiety is a symptom. And instead of saying I'm an anxious person, I should say something along the lines of sometimes I experience anxiety because that's more true to what it actually is. And so if I say that, then it takes it out of like the personality and I kind of like put it outside of myself, which in this case I think is a good thing. It's bad to like put your emotions outside of yourself, you know, like if you're feeling sad, just like dismiss it. Like that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to change my perspective so that it doesn't become like who I am, because you are not your anxiety, you're not your emotions, you're not your thoughts. So hopefully that makes sense. And then also another thing with this is I do think that sometimes I'm not like fully honest with other people, and so maybe that is another reason why like the blatantly honest people annoy me, because I struggle with being fully honest with other people. And it's not like I'm like flat out lying, but maybe sometimes I'll hold back something that I need to be saying because I don't want to like offend the person, and that to me is not being fully honest. You know, like hiding the truth is also not being honest. Does that make sense? Anyway, so next, people who can't connect on a deeper level and expect you to enjoy their surface level shit. Yeah. I don't do good with like small talk. I don't know, I just don't care for the talk. All the talks about like the new movies coming out, and I don't know, like awards people are winning, and which celebrity is dating who, and or like the latest trends on TikTok. I just don't love it. It just feels kind of like almost wrong, I guess, to only be talking about those things, because it feels like you're just consuming a bunch of information and that like making that your life instead of like creating your own life. I would say that I use like emotional conversations, like deep conversations, as a way to like jumpstart my relationships with people, which is not necessarily a good thing. And I do play it off as sometimes as just being like an open book, or I just like hate small talk, when in reality sometimes forcing the deep emotional conversation to happen too quickly is not necessarily a good thing either. So yeah, that's that one. I don't actually have... Oh, actually one more thing. And I like expect people to be okay with it, you know? I expect people to like want to have these deep conversations with me right at like the beginning of the relationship, which some people just don't, and that's fine. So that's all for that one. Number 4 is people who actively ignore me. You know, when you're in the room, there's somebody talking and they're like, oh my gosh, hey, look at this person, and then, oh my gosh, hey, you, do you want to see? And it's like they never ask you if you want to see, or they like never include you in whatever they're sharing. Like, oh my gosh, so it just like pains me, it hurts my soul. I think that it means that I still care about pleasing people that don't serve me, you know, because if I was fully secure, I wouldn't care that this person wasn't sharing this with me. I'd just be like comfortable enough with myself to not care so much. Which actually, I don't know, I feel like maybe a secure person would also not enjoy that very much too. But I do think it's something to just pay attention to, because I am trying to work on like my attachment style and stuff and being secure with myself first. So it's something to pay attention to, but I do think that it's kind of normal to feel that way if that happens to you in a social situation, because like that sucks. When people actively ignore you, it doesn't feel very good. Okay, number 5 is people who are negative and make everything about them. Like, the person that just, like, won't stop complaining about the dumbest shit, and, like, nothing can go right in their world. Like, it feels like that them talking about it is, it feels like they're wanting, like, you to fix it. Or, like, they're wanting, like, pity or something about their life, and I just don't like that. I think, I didn't write this one down, but I think it means 2 things. First, that I feel uncomfortable like expressing negative emotion around people. Not that it's good to be negative all the time, but I just like don't do it at all. And I have been working on it lately, and I have been getting better. Like, for example, literally I was crying in my room the other day. Maybe this is TMI, but I don't really care. I was crying in my room the other day, and then I texted my roommate and I was like, bro, do you want to like come up here and be with me because I'm feeling sad? And she was like, yeah. And that was like the first time that I asked somebody, the first time that I like admitted to somebody that I like needed comfort when I was like sad, you know, like that's not really something that I've ever done before, and so it's kind of a canon event, and she was really sweet about it, so it was good. It also means that I haven't fully learned not to let other people's moods dictate my own mood. Okay, that's like I am getting better with it now than I was. Like before, my mood totally depended on other people. It's not so much like that anymore, but it's definitely still a thing because you know when somebody's like you almost feel bad for being like content or in a good mood when somebody else is in a bad mood. Like I don't have to feel bad about that, you know, especially if the other person is trying to get me to fix their emotion for them or whatever. Yeah, and I also think that I haven't learned fully how to like set emotional boundaries with people and be like maybe I need to just bring it up with the negative people that their negativity is kind of like too much. I don't know. Is that something you bring up to people? I don't know. I don't know. We're just thinking about these things, okay? I don't really know what I'm talking about. So take everything that I'm saying with a grain of salt. But moving on to number 6, people who think it's embarrassing when I'm just being myself. This like hits something deep in my soul, okay? Like when you're starting to get comfortable with people or like especially at the age that I am now, I feel like young adult, you know, you're trying to learn how to be yourself. And so being yourself might be like feel kind of vulnerable, at least it does for me. And so when you do something that feels like authentically you and then somebody else like gets really embarrassed or like shuts you down, it just feels terrible. I hate it. And I think if we're turning it around, it means that a part of me feels like that I should be embarrassed, right? Because if other people embarrassed, I should be embarrassed. But really, I shouldn't care. I shouldn't give a damn what people think. But at least not in that way, because I do think when people say you shouldn't care what other people think, like you should a little bit, you know? Like it's healthy to care about what your loved ones think, you know? Otherwise you just like never get advice from them and I don't know, it would just end up bad. But obviously there's a point where it's too much. And so I do think that something inside of me feels like I should be embarrassed when other people are embarrassed for me. Another thing that I've been learning is that I am making friends with a lot of people who get extreme secondhand embarrassment. Okay, so like they're just embarrassed all the time about like the things that other people are doing, and obviously that stems from their own personal insecurity. But I honestly didn't know that was such a big thing. Like, yes, I've gotten secondhand embarrassment before, but generally I don't get embarrassed like about other people. Like I get embarrassed probably more about myself. And so learning that about other people, that like other people get embarrassed all the time because of other people, makes me like more insecure because I'm worried that they're going to be judging me. So you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Okay. So next, number 7. This one's so long, but it's kind of funny. People who care about stupid shit like folding your socks a certain way, and then expecting me to adopt whatever method and judge me or get mad if I don't. Or when people think I'm incompetent and won't be able to do the things the right way, aka their way. Okay? So basically, I know that was kind of a lot, but what it means for me is I worry about people like perceiving me as wrong and I want to be in control. And so when somebody's like pushing their way all the time and they think that they're right all the time, it kind of just like makes me angry because I'm like, hey bro, what if you're not right? What if I'm right? Maybe this is kind of like a toxic circle that's going on right now. And I really don't think that I'm the person that like thinks that I'm right all the time, but it does annoy me when other people think that they're right. And I think it's at least in part because I don't want to seem like I'm wrong. And I think that comes from a lot of like my childhood is I was such like a goody two shoes, I guess, a rule follower. I didn't want to be wrong. And so if another person is giving me this rule that and saying that it's right when maybe I don't see it as right, then it like triggers something inside of me because I'm battling between what I think is right and then not being perceived as wrong. If that makes sense? Does this make sense? So, yeah, I think that's definitely a thing. Okay, number 8 is people who are messy. And I'm not talking about like emotionally messy, I'm talking about like their room is messy or you know, they can't get their shit together. They're like disorganized. It makes me angry. I think part of it is because I feel like intruded upon, especially if like you're sharing a room with somebody and they're really messy and you're not really messy. It just kind of like sucks. Uh, Believe me, I know. But also, I think this is kind of like taking it really far, but I think I view messiness within myself as like a weakness. So if I'm ever disorganized, or even like I know I said that emotionally messy people don't bother me, but it does when it's myself. So if I'm like emotionally messy, or if I'm like messy in real life, for lack of a better word, you know, like my stuff's all over the place, then I do kind of view it as weakness, and like my life is not in order or together. And so I probably also think that way subconsciously of other people when they are messy. Okay, number 9. People who are indifferent about their grades. Like this C's get degrees mindset. Like, yeah, if you try hard in a class and you get a C, then yeah, C's get degrees. But if you're just like half-assing it all the time because a C is gonna get you a degree, like, I just like, it feels like you're not taking responsibility for your education. It feels like you're not taking responsibility for your life, and it feels like you just don't care. I just don't like people that don't care about things and don't put their all into things. It really bugs me. Really bugs me. But I do think that this one's kind of obvious, like the flip around, because I do definitely care too much about my grades at some points, and maybe possibly even like identify myself with my grades, because I do take pride in like the work that I put in, and sometimes kind of like the anxiety thing, it comes like I view it as my personality in a way, is like an academic person. And yeah, that's like part of who I am, but it's not, you know, all of who I am. And I will not die if I get a B, you know, although it like kind of feels like I'll die a little bit. But you know what I'm saying? So I feel like I identify with my grades too much, and that's what that means. The last one, number 10, I'm like stereotyping, and I'm overgeneralizing when I say this, but men. Okay? Men annoy me so bad. I don't know why, but like 98% of them are just like so cocky, and they just are so full of themselves. And I don't know, I just can't deal with like the lack of emotional intelligence with a lot of them. I just don't want to deal with men half of the time, okay? And yes, this is harsh, and what it means is that I judge too harshly about men sometimes. I do think, because there are good men out there, okay? They're not all terrible. It made me realize that I can actually have male people in my life that aren't terrible, and it's not gonna end up terrible every single time there's a guy in my life. Yeah, that's kind of all the things that I got going. I probably need to work on like my podcast flow better, because I'm over here okay all the time, and it's probably really annoying, and I'm really sorry, and I'll work on it, I promise. So I hope, I just said it again. I hope that all like 4 of you that watched this video had an amazing time, and I gotta peace out because I got therapy this morning, okay? Gotta fix all my problems. Okay, love you. Bye.